Sama'a, well, where my Fescadus, Ahadu Amlak, Amin. Besama'a, well, where my Fescadus, Ahadu Amlak, Amin. Besama'a, well, where my Fescadus, Ahadu Amlak, Amin. Good morning, blessed love. Yet a break for cure. So, eventful chapters with Jacob and exploits with Laban, and he's now on his way back to the land of Canaan under the instructions of God. So onward with the reading, chapter 32 of Genesis. And Jacob has gone on his way, and messengers of God come on him. And Jacob says, when he has seen them, this is the camp of God. And he calls the name of that place Two Camps. And Jacob sends messengers before him to his brother Esau towards the land of Seir, the field of Edom, and commands them, saying, thus you say to my lord, to Esau, thus said your servant Jacob, I have sojourned with Laban, and I linger until now. And I have ox and donkey, flock and manservant and maidservant, and I send to declare to my lord to find grace in his eyes. And the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, we came to your brother, to Esau, and he is also coming to meet you, and 400 men with him. And Jacob fears exceedingly, and is distressed, and he divides the people who are with him, and the flock, and the herd, and the camels, into two camps, and says, if Esau comes to one camp, and has struck it, then the camp which is left has been for an escape. And Jacob says, God of my father Abraham, and God of my father Isaac, Yahweh, who says to me, return to your land and to your family, and I do good with you. I have been unworthy of all the kind acts and of all the truth which you have done with your servant, for which my staff I passed over this Jordan, and now I have become two camps. Please deliver me from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I am fearing him, lest he come and has struck me, mother besides sons. And you have said, I certainly do good with you, and have set your seed as the sand of the sea, which is not numbered because of its multitude. And he lodges there during the night, and takes from that which is coming into his hand a present from his brother Esau, female goats 200, male goats 20, ewes 200, and rams 20, suckling camels and their young ones 30, cows 40, and bullocks 10, female donkeys 20, and fowls 10. And he gives into the hand of his servants every drove by itself, and says to its servants, pass over before me, and a space you put between drove and drove. And he commands the first, saying, when my brother Esau meets you, and has asked you, saying, where are you? And to you, where do you go? And whose are these before you? Then you have said, your servant Jacob. It is a present sent to my lord Esau, and behold, he is also behind us. And he commands also to the second, also to the third, also all who are going after the drove, saying, according to this manner do you speak to Esau in your finding him? And you have also said, behold, your servant Jacob is behind us. For he said, I pacify his face with the present, which is going before me, and afterwards I see his face, and I may lift, and it may be he lifts up my face. And the present passes over before his face, and he has lodged during that night in the camp. And he rises in that night, and takes 2 wives, and his 2 maidservants, and his 11 children, and passes over the passage of Jabbok. And he takes them, and causes them to pass over the brook, and he causes that which he is to pass over. And Jacob is left alone, and wrestles with him, until the ascending of the dawn, and he sees that he is not able, and he comes against the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh is disjointed in his wrestling with him. send me away, for the dawn has ascended. And he says, I do not send you away, except you have blessed me. And he says to him, what is your name? And he says, Jacob. And he says, your name is no longer called Jacob, but Israel, for you have reigned with God and with men and prevail. And Jacob asks and says, please declare your name. And he says, why is this you ask my name? And he blesses him there. And Jacob calls the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face, and my life is delivered. And the sun rises onto him when he passes over Peniel, and he is halting onto his thigh. Therefore the sons of Israel do not eat the sinew which shrank, which is in the hollow of the thigh to this day, because he came against the hollow of Jacob's thigh, against the sinew which shrank. For these few words I give thanks. So we see Jacob coming back to the land of Canaan. And if you remember in earlier chapters, Jacob basically deceived Esau, his older brother. His twins, but his older brother. And Jacob and his mother, Rebecca, deceived Esau to get Isaac to bless Jacob instead of Esau. And this was, they were following God's command to say that it would be the younger son who receives the blessing. And God's command was to say that the older shall serve the younger. But we saw Rebecca taking that into her own hand and blessing Jacob by deceiving Esau. And there were lots of other deceptions as well. So Jacob, now he's returning back, he's scared of Esau because he knows that he's done him out of his inheritance. So he sends word that he's back in advance with his servants, and then they say Esau's coming to greet you with 400 men. And then that makes Jacob even more scared. So he splits up his camp into two. So if Esau attacks, then he's only attacking one camp and not two. And then he sends presents in advance, lots of goats and camels, etc., hoping to pacify Esau. And then he also calls him my lord to try to, again, pacify him. And then towards the end is quite curious. He wrestles with a mysterious figure, wrestles into the night, wrestles into the morning. They're basically fighting. And Jacob hurts his thigh, and then he's got a hollow thigh that he walks with a limp. But it turns out that it was God he was fighting. And then God renames Jacob Israel. And then from that point on, he's known as Israel, but he carries that limp because he wrestled with God. So yeah, really interesting chapter. Again, a lot going on. Sometimes kind of wish when there's a new story in the same chapter, there's a gap, so to have a pause, there's a new scene coming, kind of thing. So sometimes these different twists and turns in a chapter can take you by surprise when you're kind of reading in a flow, really, and they're kind of easy to miss. But yeah, I guess there's not much to say maybe on this one. Jacob is fully aware that his past deceit and his deceiving his older brother could be now coming back to haunt him. So he's coming back, but he's coming back extremely cautious. God is still by his side. God is still showing him protection. And even with that wrestling scene at the end, which is quite mysterious, but even after that, God says, why are you asking me my name? Is it not obvious who I am? And then he blesses him, and then he changes his name. And we saw Abraham get his name changed to Abraham. And God changing names is an interesting kind of phenomenon, blessing. And in this case, Israel is the name that not only of the man, but also, as we know, of the land. And, the 12 tribes of Israel being the 12 sons of Jacob. So, yeah, interesting. I think there's probably not much more to say on that. Again, we're now going to see the evolution of that relationship between Jacob and Esau, and what comes there, and then also with the offspring of Jacob and how that kind of manifests into the 12 tribes. So I will leave it. Give thanks. Thanks for listening. God willing, back again tomorrow for the next reading. Blessed love, Malcolm Ken. Have a good day. Oneness.